All these things make me seem very important, but in fact, I'm not. I've not done anything. I've let God do it, and somehow things have happened. But if you want to seem important, here's a good secret. Tell everybody, oh, I've forgotten my Swahili. And they'll think, oh, you even know Swahili. But you don't have to work for it. Well, I'm very happy to be here. My Guru told us the story of two women who had faith in God and left their car unlocked. He said, it's wonderful to have faith in God, but you must be also practical. And they said, oh, God's taking care of us, we don't have to worry about it. So one time they left some very valuable paintings in the car and went away, and somebody stole them. And they were so unhappy. And he said, you see, it's good to have faith, but you must be practical. Having faith in God can accomplish wonders. There was a woman I read about. Maybe you've read the book too. It's called Walking with Angels. It's really quite a beautiful book. But this young girl went home one night, and it was late at night, and the streets were dark, but there was one man there, and he looked menacing. And she prayed to God for help. And she got safely to her apartment and went inside. And after some minutes, she heard screaming and many policemen coming and lots of commotion. She went out and asked what the trouble was. She said, well, this man raped this woman. And they said, well, this lady came by, the lady herself said, I came by first, I went away, left me alone. He said, the man said, are you kidding, with those two huge fellows walking on each side of her? She didn't see them, but the man saw them. God will protect you. Angels will protect you. Faith is the most important thing. Master talked about, I call my Guru Master, he talked about great troubles ahead, and I'll talk about those a little bit later. But he said that if you have faith in God, you will be protected. There was an amazing fact that I learned not long ago, that at the end of World War II, when Americans bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki with atom bombs, two communities lived fairly close to the epicenter, and they were untouched. One was the Franciscan community, the other was a Jesuit community, but both spiritual communities. You don't have to reason it all out. God can take care of you. A friend of mine was an alpinist, and he was making a first ascension in Switzerland. Nobody had ever tried it before, but he thought, I can do it. He got almost to the top when he found a ledge there, and then the mountain went upside down before it came to the top, and he hadn't seen that. He could not go down. It was very difficult to come up, impossible to go down, but impossible to go up too. And he thought, well, what shall I do? Shall I just sit here and starve to death? He said, at least I can die trying. And he tried and fell back. As soon as he started to get upside down, he fell back. And this happened about 25 times, and he kept thinking, it's just as well to die trying as to die just surrendering. And about the 26th time, suddenly a force held him to the mountain, and he was able to go upside down and reach the top from where it was easy to walk down again. You will find, if you have faith, that God can take care of you and will take care of you. When I talk about Dharma, I don't mean, oh, it's my Dharma to be a shopkeeper. I could say that then somebody else can say it's my Dharma to be a thief. That's not the word I mean when I say Dharma. I mean that action which will bring you closer to God. And in modern times, there is altogether too much emphasis on getting ahead, competing, getting yours. The thought that if I cut a few corners is not too important, as long as I can get what I want. I know certain swamis, well-known swamis in this country, who have cut corners morally, ethically, in order to become successful in the spiritual work they were trying to do. That is scandalous. It is wrong. But I want to tell you that I can express and prove from my own life that if you follow the principle, yata dharma stata jaya, where there is dharma, where is the right action, there is victory. And you will find that if you follow the way of dharma, you will always win. When I began Ananda, it was no easy thing for me. I never wanted money, but I had to earn the money myself to begin the first community. And I said, Divine Mother, can't you do something? I've never wanted money. And I had people trying to sue me and making all sorts of problems for me, and yet I just had to keep going. And I had to teach yoga classes in 7 cities a week for years on end, but I earned the money. And I remember about 1969, I was still, Ananda had been formed, we had built the first buildings, bought the land, but I was still working hard when somebody came to me and he said, I've inherited a lot of money and I want your advice. I would like either to join Ananda or go to India. Which should I do? I said, how much money did you inherit? He said $200,000. Well, in those days it was like $1 million today. And I wasn't even tempted. I said, I think you should go to India. Because I felt that if he had really wanted to join Ananda, he wouldn't have given me that alternative. He went to India, I never heard from him again, that's all right. We had a forest fire in 1976, and it destroyed 21 of our 21 homes in that area, 450 of our 700 acres, and it was a major blow. Our neighbors telephoned us excitedly, saying that the fire had been caused by a county vehicle. It had a faulty spark arrestor, and it began the fire. Our neighbors sued and collected. I would not sue. I thought, why should I take our bad luck out on our neighbors, on our fellow county members? I have never sued anybody. I would never sue anybody. This is what I mean, and I mean what I say, that if you want to succeed in life, God has somehow always taken care of me. He has made an amazing thing. We have 9 communities in the world, about 1,000 members, and it's only just beginning. The oldest community is now 44 years old. We can say that we know what we're talking about. In your business, don't think in terms of what you can do to win. Think always what is right. It's not an easy thing, not an easy choice. It's so easy to think, well, they won't know. But you do know. God does know. Tell the truth, whatever you do, whatever you have. One thing I have found in India, it has been a regret to me, is that many people cut those corners. I remember one time in America, I wanted to do a play I wrote the play, and these were Indians. I needed to wear Indian clothes in the thing. So we went to an Indian friend and borrowed some dhotis. And a friend of his said to me as I was leaving, I will definitely be there. Well, he didn't know where, he didn't know when, he didn't know what, he didn't know anything. Why did he say definitely? I have learned to be very aware. When people use that word definitely in India, it means probably they won't. Don't use it. When you give your word, if I say I'm going to get a newspaper and then somebody brings me a newspaper and I don't need to go, I'll go anyway just because I said it. When you do that, several things happen. One is you have the support of the universe. The universe will be there to help you. When you have a hard time, there's always, I had a wonderful experience some years ago. I always, whatever work I've done, it's not mine, I give it to my guru. But Guru and Divine Mother, to me, the same thing. So I did this work for Divine Mother. And always after finishing a major work, I like to have a vacation with Divine Mother to celebrate. And so I went to the little village of Carmel by the sea in California. And I forgot that it was August. And August is the time all the tourists go there. And there was not a room available. And I thought, well, I've just got to enjoy this with you here. I can't go to a place like Salinas or something. And so I said, Divine Mother, help me. And I found a hotel that had one room, but it was too expensive for me. And I thought, well, Divine Mother, you're just going to have to see that I can get home, because I feel that I'm here to celebrate with you and I'm determined to do it. So I pulled out my wallet to pay the man. He said, don't pay me. I said, I'd rather pay you now, meaning I was afraid I might not have it if I waited. He said, don't pay me at all. I said, why? He said, I'll just write you down as a travel agent. Well, why? I don't know, I just like you. Well, I don't know how many times that's happened to you. I can tell you how many times it's happened to me once. The next day, I went to a restaurant, and the owner of the restaurant came over and sat with me and talked, and he wouldn't let me pay for my meal. And so in that way, Divine Mother celebrated with me. And you will find that if you celebrate with Divine Mother, she will also celebrate with you. You will find that if you give your life to Him and her and do everything for God, He will always give you success. But if you cut corners, you will always, it's like that story of Yashoda and Krishna when he was a little baby and she wanted to tie him up so that he wouldn't be bothering her while she was making cheese or whatever. And the string that she had was just this much short. She went and got more string. It still was just that much short. She got more and more string, as much string as she could get. It was always this much short, until she realized whom she was trying to tie up. And she said, please let me tie you up. And then she was able, well, God will take care of you if you love Him, if you live first for Him. And so dharma means doing that which will bring you closer to God. Dharma means, above all, loving God, doing what you do for God. Don't think you are doing it only for your own self and to support your family. Feel that you are playing your role, and it doesn't have to be like mine. It can be any kind of role that's dharmic. But if you do it for God and bring God into your work, you will be amazed how many things will go right for you and nothing will go wrong. And I have found in my life that when things did go wrong, it was always for a good reason. Things were better afterwards. For example, I wanted to serve my guru. He told me many times, you have a great work to do. He had plans for me. I wanted to do them, I tried to do them, but my superiors in the monastery, after he died, were all women, and they didn't want to be inventive, and they used to keep saying to each other, why can't he wait and do what he's told to do? And I just was eager to get his message out to the world. I feel that his message is the message needed by Dwapara Yuga. It is the message needed by this new age of energy. And through this message, the whole world will understand the way of Dharma. But it was very difficult. What was I saying there? Say it loudly enough for me to hear you.
The difficulties you were having.
Yes, I had this difficulty that I wanted to build something in Delhi. And it was amazing. I wanted to get land and no land was possible. And so I determined, I said, by my will, I'm going to make this happen. And the only land that I found, they said I couldn't have land in the Greenbelt area. I said, all right, then I'll get land where I want in the Greenbelt area. So there was a little place next to Birla Mandir, just off Lover's Lane, as they call it, Mandir Lane officially. And I wanted 20 acres there. Everybody laughed at me. I said, by my will, I will do it. Finally, I got to see Bhagavan Sahaya. I sent him a letter. I said, the green belt at that time, now it's wonderful, but then it was all just scraggly sand and bushes and nothing. And I said to him, this greenbelt area is really only an excuse for a greenbelt area. If you can let societies have little bits of it to make a thing of their own, they can make a park, they can make gardens, you can, in a very short time, beautify the whole area. And Bhagavan Sahaya, he was, I said, I think, the Chief Commissioner of India, of Delhi State. And he said to me, please come and talk to me, this sounds interesting. So I did. And he ended up saying it was, it had his approval, he could win the other commissioners. But because this thing was decided by Nehru himself, Nehru would have to give his permission. Well, that was like saying, yes, I'll do what you want, but first you have to go to the moon. And I said, well, first I had said, wouldn't you talk to him? He said, no, you have to talk to him. And so I didn't know what to do. A friend of mine was a friend of a cousin of Nehru's. And this cousin I visited, and she liked the idea. So she called Indira Gandhi and asked Indira to have an appointment with me. And so, to please her auntie, she agreed to see me. And when I saw Indira Gandhi, she said, "Well, be very brief, I have to leave for Paris tomorrow." I said, "Oh, do you speak French?" Yes. She was a little haughty. And, you know. Anyway, I said, "Do you speak French?" Yes. So I started speaking French with her, but this sort of warmed her up a little bit. And I said, "Where did you learn French?" And she said, "Oh, you wouldn't have heard of the place." I said, "Try me." And she said it was a little village in a villa in Switzerland. And the École Beausoleil it was called. I said, "I know the school because I learned French in the same village. And down the street we had a little school where I went. We passed your school every day." By this time, she had completely melted. And so after finishing, she agreed to recommend me to her father. She took me out into the garden and showed me a couple of tiger cubs that somebody had given them, him and Nehru, her and Nehru. And I was intrigued because a friend of mine here in Pune, not here in Pune, in my mind I'm there mentally, but anyway, it was in Pune. And his father had given those tiger cubs to Nehru. Anyway, I did see Nehru. He liked the idea. He walked the land. He said, "It will be yours. It had been designated for some other thing. I will make sure you get it." I wrote to the board of directors in America. They were absolutely furious. And they threw me out of the organization for that. Well, I found myself in New York after 14 years as a monk. In New York without money. It was a terrible disaster for me. And yet that very day, my parents arrived in New York from Europe. God took care of me. I went with my parents to their home in Atherton, and I started rebuilding my life. And everything that I have done has been since that moment. So remember, even the greatest disaster, to me this was the ultimate disaster. I couldn't imagine anything worse than being told I could not serve my Guru. And yet everything I've done has been since then. If you live for God, you will find that God will take care of you. And the greatest disaster, if you keep your faith, will turn out to be just a correction of course, so that you can do what you had to do. With them, I could never have done anything. Anything that I tried, they always said no, no, no. Now I could finally do everything that I've done. So, your most important duty in life is to find who you really are. I remember when I was young, quite young, 13 years old, well, all my life I'd been wanting to know truth, but at the age of 13, I began really to seek truth. I wanted to know what life is all about. And I didn't want God, only not because I didn't want God, but because I didn't like the God that was presented to me in the churches. And I thought, I can't accept that. And so I sought through science, and I found that that doesn't inspire me, it just gives me facts. And I tried through uplifting humanity through social reform. And I came to the point that, what is social reform? People can have the best system and still ruin it. And then I tried through inspiring people, and I tried music and painting and different things. This couldn't do it. I decided to be a playwright. And then I suddenly realized, I don't know truth. Why should I inflict my ignorance on other people? And so I gave that up, and I didn't know what to do. I was desperate. I was 21 years old by this time. And I remember, first of all, I thought, the only people who have done any real good in this world have been people like, I didn't know anything about Krishna, but Buddha, Jesus Christ, people who knew God. And I thought, I didn't know about the knowing God, but religious reformers. And I went out at night and I said, there has to be a God. And if there's a God, what must he be? And I thought, he can't be a judge. He can't be a policeman waiting for me to make a mistake so he can clap me into hell. God has to be something. What is he? And I was thinking this all out. I'd never read spiritual books before. I'd not cared about them. I'd never read about the lives of saints before. I didn't know anything. But I thought, I'm asking this question consciously. Therefore, God must be consciousness. And if that's the case, then there are times in my life when my mind has been clearer, and other times when it's been muddier, darker. My job in life then has to be to attune myself to that greater consciousness. And I decided that very night I would devote my life to seeking God. And I didn't know anybody had ever sought God before. I thought, am I going crazy? This is an impossible thing. But I said, there's nothing else worth doing. And so I thought, whether I go crazy or not, I must seek God. And that was when God stepped in. When you seek God, he will step in and help you. I didn't know anything about the Indian teachings. I didn't know anything about yoga. I didn't know anything about the need for a guru. But my father, conveniently for me, had been sent by Esso, his company, to look for oil in Egypt. And the day that I put my mother on the ship to go join him was the day I went uptown New York and found Autobiography of a Yogi. This was in 1948. And I read that book avidly. I took the next bus across the country from New York to Los Angeles. And the first words I addressed to him were, "I want to be your disciple." I couldn't say more. I said, in my mind, I said, I know you know what I'm thinking, but if I said it, I would only cry. And he closed his eyes and searched my life, and he accepted me that day. And since then, for the last 64 years, I have been serving his work, trying to make the world understand his message. I have no message of my own. What I try to share with people, and I don't see myself as teaching anyone, but I try to share what I know, because it's the most worthwhile thing to know in the whole universe. Adi Shankaracharya said that in all the three universes, the greatest blessing is to have a true Guru. I am blessed that I have that Guru. One thing that he said in his life, which I want to share with you because I think right now it's very important. He stressed with great vigor the importance of starting communities. Little self-sustaining communities. He said, I see this ideal spreading like wildfire. It will go all over the world, little cities, little towns, little villages, like the ancient villages of India, where people lived a dharmic life, lived for God, and sustained themselves by dharmic work. This I have done. As I said, I have created 9 communities already. I want to see many more. I think right now we're at a very crucial time in history. The American government has decided to print $500 billion a month. Can you imagine what that's going to do? Somebody who is a friend of mine is very wealthy. She has a financial advisor. He says to her, this is the most important thing, the most greatest certainty that I have. Next year, 1913, we'll see a complete collapse of the dollar. This will mean the collapse of the economy all over the world. People will be without jobs. People will be starving in the streets. You may be. Please take me seriously. The best possible solution will be to buy land where you can grow your own food, where you can build your own home, and live with harmonious people. Somebody was living at Ananda for 2 weeks recently. When he left, he said, I did not meet one unkind person in this community. If you can live with people who are compatible with your ideals, if you can have a small community and cut yourself off from the social system around you, you can be safe. Otherwise, there's no knowing whether you'll be safe or not. People will be losing jobs right and left. Large companies will fail. There will be disaster. Yogananda said that the depression that is coming will be far worse than the 1930s. It will be, he said, the dollar and money itself will not be worth the paper it is printed on. Yes, you can buy gold as a security. Don't leave money in the bank. Buy gold, buy silver, but best of all, buy land. Land where you can grow food. Get friends of yours to pool together with you. I'm saying this with all sincerity and seriousness. If you have a little town of 1,000 people and you're competitive, then you will have 999 enemies. But if you learn cooperation with others, you will have 999 friends. America has one very great virtue. It's very good on cooperation. They had to learn cooperation as they settled this strange continent and made it their own. Indians, unfortunately, do not know how to cooperate as well. But try to find a few friends who are cooperative. Try to get this into your mind. When you cooperate with others, they will cooperate with you. They say, but we've got to be practical. The most practical thing of all is to befriend people. Then they will befriend you. If you give to others, they will give to you. If you sustain others, they will sustain you. Jesus Christ said it's more blessed to give than to receive. Why more blessed? Because you feel more bliss. When you can do that, it may seem on the surface you're giving away your own wealth. You won't be when you have many people support you. When you can live in a community and many people can work together, you can have a security that you will never have if you live in this dog-eat-dog world. I urge you to do this. In the beginning, it was no easy thing, I have to say it. Everybody wanted to go his own direction, and it took a certain amount of willpower. Fortunately, I'm quite stubborn, and I can hold my will when I believe in something. But I surrender it when I feel that it's necessary, but never will I change my basic principles. No matter what happens, you can kill me, I don't care. Just a few weeks ago, I had a dream in which my enemies tried to burn me at the stake. And I thought, it doesn't matter. I'll have a great pain for a little while, but then it'll all be gone. And during my dream, this can happen in dreams, these people are sitting at a banquet table, feasting each other and laughing and drinking and so on, not thinking at all about me. And the flames were coming up, it didn't matter to me. Then some friends of mine came and saved me. And I was glad that they saved me, but it didn't matter to me. I was quite indifferent. And I felt very good about that afterwards. Because we must be ready to suffer any kind of pain for truth. Don't let pain, don't let tests, don't let anything make you sacrifice your basic principles. Because if you hold to them, you will win in the end. If not in this life, in the next life. But you will win. And so in the beginning, I had only to open up my mouth for about a dozen people to leap into it. But I just held my guns, and at the end, I was able to get all people on my side. There was one time when I had to call everybody together, and I had to say, listen, I started this community. I don't impose my will on you, you know that. But if I feel strongly about something, then I want you to accept it. And if you won't, then I'll leave and never look back. It doesn't matter to me. And 50 people left that day. But of course, I'm no fool. I made sure I had the majority of them on my side before I gave them that challenge. But you have to be that way. Well, now we have a work system that works. We have very few rules. Our main rules are no drugs, no alcohol, and no dogs. Dogs because they chase everything, and you can't have a dog in a community. But apart from that, we have almost no rules. We have customs. We have two rules that are not rules, but they're our custom. People are more important than things. I think everybody should make this rule, that the welfare of people, the happiness of people is more important to you than making money, for example. The other rule is yata dharma tata jaya. Where there is right action, there is victory. And we have adhered to that rule sternly, vigorously, sometimes in the face of utter disaster, but we've always come out on top. So I say, I know what I'm talking about. We won. If you do that, I think the best thing, if you want to start a community, is to say we're following the Ananda example. Because then people say, all right, we'll join or we won't join. But when they don't have any idea of what's happening, then they can fight over all sorts of things as to what they want to do. If you can say we have a system, we follow this system, it's a very ruleless, simple system. But if people want it, they can come. If they don't want it, they can't. So I would suggest that if you do follow my urgent plea to you to start communities, then try to follow our example. I don't care about Ananda as a place. We're now making a movie of Ananda. They're almost finished making it at Ananda Village in America. It has a well-known actress, and it's a real movie. And I think it will be very popular. But I'm not interested in promoting Ananda as a place. I'm very interested in promoting an ideal which I think can help everybody in the world. Those people, those of us who live in this community, say we wouldn't live in another way of life for the world. Please take me seriously. I have come here tonight to urge you to place God above everything else in your life, to place right action, dharma, above everything else in your life, to be kind to people, not to be unkind, to help them and not to run roughshod over them. The more you live dharmically, the happier you will be, the more satisfied you will be, and the more successful you will be. Thank you, everybody. I would like our choir to come up. Okay, will you tell them? Okay.
May I request the choir to please come up?
And I'm a young man, but I think I'll stay sitting. I'm in my 87th year, which isn't very old, but perhaps older than everybody here. Come on up. Are you going to sing from there? No, come here. Okay. I want to tell you, you all sing beautifully. Can anybody lend me glasses, reading glasses? Thank you. No good. Yeah. We'll sing 2 songs. Through a long and lonely night, I whisper your name. Through the pains and joys of life, my plea stays the same. Tempt me no longer, my love, tempt me no longer, though this world's not for me. I have known all its charms. Fold me now in your arms, make me free. Lifetimes have passed, I've called out to you through hope and despair. Lifetimes I've known the goals that I sought awaited nowhere. Help me remember, there's one goal alone. All I am is yours, all I have is yours, I'm your own. For this last song, I would like you all to stand with me. Thank you very much. Thank you. What's she saying?
If you could sing peace.
Okay, you want to sing peace? We tested the right pitch. About a year ago, 2 years ago, my voice suddenly went down a whole octave. Now I think I'm only fit to speak to the whales, but anyway.
Let's try. Is this it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You can do it.
The seasons, peace gave us the rain, cool clouds that gathered to bless us, mist hands that soothe away pain. Amen. Peace gave us our heart's love. Peace gave us our smiles. Rays of thy presence within us. Light that all strife reconciles. Amen. Amen. Sing Amen with us. I should mention one thing. The song that I sang was not my melody. It was from an old movie from 1949, and I wrote the words. Thank you, everybody.